Hi, I am Jamie Beamgard, and this is going to be a presentation about how guitar pickups work. The purpose for this presentation is for a class called ECE 303, Principles of Electromagnetism at NC State, and this is the fall 2020 semester. The goal is that by the end of this presentation, you should have a basic understanding of how an electric guitar's pickups work. And a pickup is what is being pointed to by the three arrows here if you see them on an electric guitar, and that's actually how it gets the sound and then amplifies it out so that you can hear it. A brief history, guitars were popular for centuries, but then in the 20s and the 30s, there was a rise in multi-instrumentalist big band music. And suddenly the guitarists who just played on acoustic guitars needed a better way to be heard. So the newly found electric guitars and then amplification systems provided a method for them to actually be heard. Leo Fender released what is regarded as the first commercially available solid body electric guitar in 1949 called the Fender Esquire. There were other people who were making them, but this was the first big commercially available model. It was a little different than what you would see today, and what's kind of regarded as the modern electric guitars really started cropping up in the mid to late 60s. There are a couple pretty key background principles, one of which is that just the concept of what a magnetic field is, which is that magnetic sources have invisible fields that kind of extend all around them, and then they get weaker the further you get away from them. And then the other major principle is, the proper title is Faraday's Law of Induction, but it just says that if you have a stationary wire in a magnetic field and then that magnetic field starts to change, then there's electrical flow caused inside of the wire. So in these two pictures, you can see the structure of a typical pickup. On the left, you can clearly see the 6 metal cylinders, and they are called pole pieces, and they're just solid cylinders made out of metal. In the right picture, you can actually see that these pole pieces are surrounded by lots and lots and lots of wound, thin copper wire, and it's called the pickup's windings. On the bottom of the pickup, there is a just permanent magnet. So there's a magnetic bar, and it's actually connected to all 6 of the pole pieces. And then back on the left-hand image, you can see the 2 wires that are connected to the copper windings, and they're just wires that carry the electrical signal out of the pickup to the rest of the guitar's electronics. So how a pickup actually works is that the permanent magnet that's on the bottom, then touching the pole pieces, kind of turns those pole pieces into smaller, more directed magnets. And then those pole pieces point at the strings. So since they're kind of focusing that magnetism, it then turns the string into a magnetic source. And this kind of, when we were kids, we would do the experiment where you take a paperclip and rub it on a magnet, and then you can kind of use that to direct iron flakes around on a piece of paper. It's kind of the same concept. Magnets can transfer magnetism. The one that is transferred, though, isn't as strong as the original magnet, but it still gets the effect across. But yeah, so then the strings act as little magnets, and they have fields all around them. And when they're played, then they vibrate at a frequency, and that's actually, how you hear the notes. So then as the string vibrates, the magnetic field that's around it is going through the windings of the pickup. And since it's vibrating up and down, the magnetic field is changing. And as I said earlier, if you have a still wire in a changing magnetic field, then it creates electrical flow. And that is actually the sound that is then transferred to an amplifier where it can be boosted up to a level that we can hear. So thank you. This has been How Guitar Pickups Work, and by Jamie Beamgard. Thank you. And then here is my final sources.